little requirements. He was working at the same place that I was working. We had the same time. I actually was getting paid more as barista than he was leading the kitchen at that time. Now, if I would have looked at that man as what he was in that moment, would I really be sitting here right now? Probably not. Not if you don't know me, you don't know that I would not, but I would not. Hello, and welcome to another video. So I'm so excited this morning. I'm gonna try to contain my excitement. I don't have any notes for this video. I really want this video to flow. So you guys have really blessed me this morning with your comments on that other video about fasting and prayer. It's no secret. Like I said, we talked about a lot of things here on this channel. And this is just kind of like the natural progression of the stuff that I've already been talking about, right? So one comment in particular stood out to me this morning, and that was, how do you prepare? How did I go about preparing to become a wife? And baby, this question it struck me, because I told myself, I said, and you're gonna see it when you see the vlog later on, I said, baby, now we got the right people in the room and we're asking the right questions. See, everybody, this channel ain't for everybody. I already said that. But now we have the right people asking the right questions, really wanting to gather the right tools in the room. And I'm excited about that, because this is a very complex question, and good for you, good for me, I have a very complex answer. Now, first, I'm going to say that I did a series called The Spirit of a Wife. I'm going to link that series for you to go back and watch those videos, because this is a complex question. Being a wife, marriage, motherhood, those things have very complex answers. But let's start this video off by saying, and this might turn into a series itself, but let's start off by saying, how did I go about preparing to be a wife? There's one thing that you have to understand, and that's that being a wife is something that God tells you you're gonna become. That's the first thing. It is not about, wearing skirts and cooking meals and staying at home with the kids. Those are all components. Wearing skirts, whatever. Those little things, those elements of being a woman, being feminine, those are all components of you being a wife. Baby, that is very, very small as it relates to the total goal of this. First thing with preparing, the first thing I had to do with preparing was I had to be submitted to who you ask. I had to be submitted to God before I could even begin preparing for anything. Because let me tell you this, a lot of the things that have popped up in life, a lot of some of the good things and the bad things, go watch that series, that have come to the surface, I would have never been able to be prepared for. And it wasn't my preparation in the sense that, I'm storing up some money just in case something bad happens. I got my own this and I got my own that. It wasn't that kind of preparing. It was the kind of preparing, the kind of character preparing that's necessary to be able to deal with some hard things in life. And the truth is, the reason why we don't see relationships working anymore is because people aren't willing to lay down what I want and really pick up what needs to be. And before you can pick up what needs to be, before you can lay down what you want, you have to understand what God wants for you. So that's the first thing in preparing, is really the process of, I gotta submit what I want. And I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people who don't want to get married, like they want to get married, but they haven't found the right person, is because the right person comes into your life and you like, you don't fit the description, baby. So with that being said, let me go into a little story time. Now, you guys know, if you're here right now, you see how many times, like, I'll switch jobs, I'll switch doing things. I have always been this way. And this time in particular, I was in a season of my life, I was getting out of a real low down, dirty relationship, okay? And when I say toxic, I don't mean like toxic as in like we were fighting or anything like that, like physically fighting. I mean toxic in a way of, it was really a distraction to the destination that God wants me to get to. And looking back, I would still be in that entanglement. I would still be in that relationship really wandering. Like I wouldn't be right here talking to you had I still been in that relationship. So that's what I mean by toxic. Toxic is just a poison to my destination. That's what that relationship was. So long story short, and trust me, if you watch any number of my Tansy Talks videos, you can kind of begin to piece together girl, what was really happening in the relationship. But anyway, I had left my job, so I started working. I was living in a condo at the time. I started working at this salad place. I wasn't really making a lot of money at the salad place, but I had come to the place in my life where, you know what, I'm cool, I'm content. God, I guess this is it, and that's fine with me. I got rid of my car and just began to just live my life, much like what I've done again. Just begin to live my life very simple. And from that simplicity, God began to expand the territory of my mind, right? So I left this job. Long story short, I left this job and I began working for this other company. Now, I want to say that while I was working at that salad place, I was also working for like a staffing agency doing some part-time work. And when I was doing the part-time work in this kitchen, they sent me to the place. You guys saw it if you saw my military video, the full circle moment, when I told you, I used to have to get up early in the morning and go work at this place. Well, I first started working at that place through a staffing agency. And when I was working there at that place, I didn't want to work there, but I knew that's what I had to do to pay my bills. I did not want to work there. So when I was working there, there was 2 chefs in the kitchen, and one of the chefs was there because he was waiting for his kitchen to be built. Ooh, I feel like there's gonna be a word in here. He was waiting for his kitchen to be built, and I was just doing my work. I was doing my thing. I was doing the thing that I know. I was at the place that I knew that God wanted me, and doing the thing that I knew that I was supposed to be doing. I didn't think anything else of it. So I'm working there. I'm working hard. I'm a hard worker, obviously. I think I was working the salad bar or something at the time. And long story short, the chef was like, when we open a new location, I want her to come in there with me and help to open the location. So we went to the other place, and I showed you guys this in the video. It's near my home now. There was the video when I told you where I met my husband, the building I met my husband in. So that chef took me to that building, was like, it took a few of us to that building. Some people from the staffing agency, and then some of us from that actual building. So I was there. He offered me a job, and I'm like, baby, I think they were paying $9 an hour. Baby, I had to drive, you know anything about Houston, from the south side to where I am now to the north side for $9 an hour. It just didn't make sense. But I worked hard while I was there. And while they were giving out like unlimited overtime, I worked. And because I was working through the staffing agency at that time, I got paid a lot more than what they were offering to come on with the company. So I declined the offer and went on by my business, okay? Stayed working on the other side of town, stayed working at that salad place. And once I knew it was time for me to move on from the salad place, that's a crazy story how it happened, but I knew it was time for me to move on from the salad place. I ended up getting another job, and I found out that the job that I got was actually a sister company to the actual company that the man offered me the job, like the chef had offered me the job. So it was at a school, it was at like a charter, it was at a boarding school, it wasn't a charter school, girl, they paid money to be there. It was at a boarding school, and for the summertime, of course, school was out, so I was out of employment. So I end up, and he was like, well, if you can go to another account so that you can still be working and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I do have this connection. Like, I got this connection at the other place. I could just go over there and work, I could reach out to him and I can go over there and work there. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do, but like I said, I knew I had to move on from the place that I was. And this was a means for me to do it. I didn't have all the answers. So I went ahead, I reached out to the guy, and the chef was like, of course, like, I remember you were a good worker. When can you come up here and when can you fill out the paperwork? So I'm like, when I tell you it was a terrible day, I want to paint this picture because it's something important coming up here. It was a terrible day. We had recently had like a bad hurricane. I had an electric car and my car flooded. So I finally got a car. I had an electric car and the car flooded. One of the batteries flooded in the car wouldn't turn on. I had to catch a bus. I was crying. It was terrible the day that I went up there and told the people that I was no longer going to work there with them. And it was just something about that day that I knew that that's crazy because my mom prayed for me that day. It was something about that day that I realized that I had to press forward because there was something better for me on the other side of my obedience, really. So long story short, I told the man, after I told him I wasn't gonna have the job, I called the man and he was a little shady, I ain't gonna lie. So he wasn't really interested in doing the long route of the paperwork. He was like, you would just come up here and fill out paperwork for me and I can get you on hire here, okay? You don't have to go through that long trip, because what was happening was the boss at the other job at the boarding school didn't want to let my paperwork go to send me over there, because he was scared that that chef, bless you, Kennedy. He was scared that the chef there wasn't going to send my paperwork back. So you had to be released from this account to go back to the other account. So he was playing with me. Basically was like, well, we ain't going to give her no hours. He didn't know that I had a connection. So your good work, okay? Your work and your integrity will get you connections. I'm going to say that. So I went over there. I got my car fixed. I got all that stuff settled. And maybe it was like within a week's time, I end up setting up a little something to go to, to meet this chef. And I hadn't seen him in years. I mean, like a long time. It had been a long time. So I walked into the office. I walked into his office and, I'm smiling. I'm happy because I realized that God is doing something, okay? At this point, I know that I'm going to be moving over there. I know God's doing something. I just don't know what. And there was this man inside of the office with him. It was a black man. And I was like, I ain't never seen that before. I mean, the people who was working here before, they're not working here no more. It's something totally different. So I did notice him. And I noticed him over there stapling papers looking at me. Okay. And I just wasn't really interested. I wasn't interested. I didn't go to that job because I thought that I was going to have some new relationship. I really didn't even go to that job because I wanted that job. I went back to that job because I felt God saying, this is the move that you need to make. Okay. And if you really say you won't follow me, I'm about to see how much you won't follow me by going back to a place that I had you at before. That's why you see me here. I'm never afraid to go back to doing something. I'm never afraid to do something that I think is less than, because sometimes God really moves on your behalf when you do the thing that everybody else deems is less than. Okay. He just does. He just does, because not only did I not go into that kitchen as a culinary student, because when I first started with that company, I actually was doing more of like cooking, culinary stuff. I said, I'll take a position as a barista. I'll take a position as a cashier. Okay, just give me the position, because my son's moving with me. Like, I gotta make this move work. Okay, just give me the position. And yes, I took the position as a barista, but I didn't know that my husband was actually there in the room. So you guys have heard me tell this story before. I started, my birthday was coming up, and I started probably I started two days shy of my birthday or something like that. I started, and then my birthday was like 2 days later. So I was walking to the back of the kitchen, and homeboy stops me and was like, why I'm so excited or something like that. And I was just really filled with the joy of the Lord, not gonna lie. And he's like, I was like, my birthday's coming up, and I didn't get all into all my business, but I was like, my birthday's coming up and I'm just excited. And he was like, so what are you gonna do for your birthday? And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna sit by the pool, with me a glass of wine and just chill. Like, I don't need anything. I can just do this and that's gonna be fine. And then that's how we met, okay? It literally was. I went into a place I didn't want to go, but I knew God was leading me there, and I met my husband. And we have this conversation so often because there was something about me in that moment that he knew immediately. He knew when he was in there stapling them papers that I was the one. I didn't think that he was the one. I didn't have a thought towards him aside from, oh, there's a guy in the office stapling papers while we in here having this conversation. He on the other half, because he's the man, because God gives a different vision to the man about his wife, he knew in that moment who I was. And yes, there was a long process that took place. And if I need to elaborate, if I feel led to elaborate, I will. But that was the starting point. The starting point was being obedient to surrendering and being obedient to God as he led me through life. Okay. So the first step in preparing to be a wife is you need to be willing to be surrendered. And that is not easy. You know why? Because I had to go back into this place, not knowing if the same people were there, not knowing if I would have the same seniority that I had before. I didn't know anything about this place. I didn't know if I would fit in there. I didn't know if I would, at the time I didn't get approved of my apartment. I didn't know anything about this place. All I know was God said, go back there. And I said, yes. So sometimes when you're surrendering to this process, you don't know all the answers. And sometimes, honestly, it makes you look like less than. Like you look like a failure to other people. Like, girl, I thought you moved on and you were doing something else. Now you back here? Like, what you doing back here? You guys know I said I'm going to go to, I'm doing summer camp. I don't know what that's going to turn into. But somebody could be like, girl, you owned your own daycare and now you back here? Like, people do that. But you have got to move away from the space of what people think of me and say, God, what do you know about me? And because you know something about me, that means you know where I'm going. And you really the only one that I need to be listening to. So again, I say the first step in preparing to become a wife, baby, is you got to be surrendered and submitted to the process, knowing that stuff might come along on, like, God, whoever you send me. My husband, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but my husband and I are not the same age. He is 14 or 15 years my senior, so he's older than I am. However, when I first met him, the only thing that I noticed about him was his youthful spirit. Like, some of these little requirements, he was working at the same place that I was working. We had the same time. I actually was getting paid more as barista than he was leading the kitchen at that time. Now, if I would have looked at that man as what he was in that moment, would I really be sitting here right now? Probably not. Not if you don't know me, you don't know that I would not, but I would not. I would not. If I would have just taken a snapshot of what was standing right in front of me, there is no way under this sun, okay? There's no way in the world that I would have said yes. But because I said yes to God, it was easier to say yes to the person that he was sending to me clearly, very clearly. And like I said, if I feel led to elaborate on what that very clearly looks like, then I will, okay? So as always, if you have a question, ask a question. I hope this is the beginning of a very important conversation, okay? But I'll see you guys in the next video.